Oppenheimer, 2023. The Oscar-winning masterpiece of 2024. Script with scenes and hints. Introduction, scene narration, voiceover. Oppenheimer, a film that not only impressed global audiences in 2023, but also won a resounding victory at the 2024 Academy Awards. Let's explore the story, the excellent cinematography, and why the film won Oscar glory. Hint: for AI images. The grand cinematic introduction, the shining golden Oscar statue next to the Oppenheimer movie poster, the black smoke background, the impressive stage lights. Scene 1. Cavendish, 1926. Chapter. 1926. A brilliant young physicist at Cambridge, overwhelmed by homesickness and the harsh teachings of Patrick Blackett. Scene: close-up of a young student brooding in a dark laboratory. Chapter: young scientist in a 1920s laboratory, dim lighting, antique instruments, light drizzle outside the window, cinematic portrait. Scene 2: the apple and boar. Chapter: a daring act almost happened. A poisoned apple, but Niels Bohr's timely discovery prevented tragedy. Scene: a tense morning kitchen. A hand reaches for an apple and pauses. Chapter: a classic kitchen. Apple on the table. Nervous young man at the door. Older scientist enters. Stilt. Scene 3. Göttingen and his teachers. Narrator: Bohr urged him to study in Germany. Oppenheimer completed his doctorate at Göttingen, honing his theoretical talents. Scene: collage of lecture halls, blackboards filled with equations. Hint: a 1920s European university lecture hall, professors discussing complex equations on the blackboard. The atmosphere is lively. Scene 4. Berkeley and the important people. Narrator: back in America, Berkeley became his home. He met Jean Tatlock, Ernest Lawrence, and Kitty Puning, relationships that changed his life. Scene: small details. A romantic encounter, a handshake with Lawrence, a wedding photo. Scene: a collage of American college life in the 1930s, intimate conversations, lab work, wedding photos. Scene 5. Einstein's letter and the call to action photo. Einstein and Szilard warn Washington. The race for the bomb begins. Scene: an old letter being typed, ominous newspaper headlines. Illustration: close-up of vintage typewritten letter with Einstein's name, superimposed over newspaper headline. Scene 6. Los Alamos and the Manhattan Project. Illustration: Groves recruits Oppenheimer. Los Alamos is built and brilliant minds secretly gather. Scene: aerial shot of desert complex. Scientists moving between laboratories. Illustration: secret desert laboratory complex in the 1940s. Scientists in suits and lab coats. Geometric testing facilities. Scene: ethical questions and Tatlock's death. Caption: grief and doubt. The suicide of Jean Tatlock and scientists' debates on the future of the project. Scene: Oppenheimer alone at night, heated discussions in the laboratory. Caption: somber portrait of a man in a dimly lit office, rain-stained windows, newspaper clippings from death notices. Explosion, shocked faces, mushroom cloud silhouettes. Clues: desert bomb testing from a safe distance, dramatic skies, silhouetted witnesses, high contrast. Scene 9. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and Truman narrator. The bombs fall. Oppenheimer begs Truman to stop nuclear development, but is refused. Scene: White House office meeting, silent images of devastation. Clues: 1940s Oval Office meeting, tense handshake, interspersed with aerial shots of the devastated city. Haunting. stripped him of his access. Scene: courtroom-like hearing. Stunned colleagues. Clues: 1950s security hearing. Solemn men seated at tables. Spotlight on accused scientist. Scene 11. Calculation and recovery cover. Strauss was later discredited. In 1963, the Enrico Fermi Award partially restored his honor, but ethical questions remained. Scene: medal ceremony. Final, thoughtful scene with Oppenheimer and Einstein. Hint: close-up of the award ceremony, two elderly scientists talking. Background is a pensive sunset. And human psychology. In Oppenheimer, he created an ambitious masterpiece, a profound portrait of Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, told through non-linear storytelling and interwoven perspectives. This complexity reflects both the intellect and the inner turmoil of Oppenheimer facing historical choices. Cillian Murphy delivered an outstanding performance, with every deep gaze, restrained gesture, and haunting voice conveying the struggle between genius and guilt. This role earned Murphy the 2024 Oscar for Best Actor, rightfully becoming the living soul of the three themes and symbols. The burden of knowledge. The film constantly questions whether humanity is ready for the power it creates. Oppenheimer, often quoting the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I have become death, the destroyer of worlds," is haunted by the possibility that science has gone too far. Morality and nationalism. Many characters, from Edward Teller to Leslie Groves, express the tension between scientific advancement for humanity and loyalty to the nation-state. The visionary's isolation. Though surrounded by brilliant minds, Oppenheimer is portrayed as utterly alone, politically alienated, suspected of his past, and ultimately betrayed by his own government. 4. Cinematography. Cinematography. Hoyt van Hoytema's IMAX. Cinematography creates both grandeur and claustrophobia. The vast desert landscape of Los Alamos contrasts with the claustrophobic interrogation rooms of the 1954 security hearings. Sound design. Ludwig Göransson's music is both mathematical and emotional. String-heavy pieces intermingle with the silence that makes the Trinity test scene unforgettable. The slow sound of the explosion is one of the most effective uses of silence in cinema. Editing. Jennifer Lame's editing reflects Oppenheimer's fragmented psyche. The black and white shots reflect Strauss's perspective, while the color represents Oppenheimer himself. This contrast emphasizes the subjectivity of history. 5. Historical and political resonance. Nolan doesn't just recreate history. He forces the viewer to confront its moral ambiguity. The bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki isn't shown directly, a wise choice. Instead, we experience it through Oppenheimer's horror and guilt, making the devastation more personal and psychological. The film also illuminates America's paranoia during the Cold War, highlighting how Oppenheimer, once praised, became a scapegoat during the Red Scare. Downey Jr., Blunt, Pugh, Damon. The emotional and moral weight lingers long after the credits roll. Technical mastery of sound, visuals, and editing. Weaknesses. The dense dialogue and over-reliance on historical knowledge can be overwhelming for casual viewers. The film's narrow view of the bombing's victims. Some critics say it marginalizes the voices of the Japanese. 7. Legacy and cultural impact. Oppenheimer is more than a biopic. It's also a cautionary tale. It asks whether technological progress without moral restraint will lead to enlightenment or Final verdict. Oppenheimer is a masterpiece of modern cinema, a fusion of art, science, and philosophy. It's not just about the man who built the atomic bomb, but also about the burden of genius and the fragility of morality in the face of power. Rating: 9.5/10. A challenging but essential film, beautiful, terrifying, and unforgettable. What do you think? Does Nolan honor or condemn Oppenheimer? Should the film have focused more on the human cost in Japan? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your take.